Itai Turbahn, welcome to Validated.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this is going to be a nice, good conversation on user onboarding, wallet abstraction. I think just kind of to set the scene a bit here, crypto is terrible at naming things. This is the hallmark of the industry since the very first days when we started calling things wallets and we started talking about, a wallet is a place you store your Bitcoin. Well, the Bitcoin's not actually stored in the wallet. The wallet's just a way of accessing it. The Bitcoin actually always stays on chain. Oh, I'm sending you tokens. No, actually, all we're doing is reassigning ownership in a giant distributed ledger. What's a giant distributed ledger? Well, it's a database. It's just in multiple places and multiple people can write to it. The list goes on and on. And so you guys at Dynamic are one of several companies that is thinking about how we can reinvent the perennial problem of self-custody and safety. Those are two things that, the Web2 world has completely given up on. Almost every single way you can store money in the non-Web3 world requires some form of custody, which means there's some form of undo button. It also means that someone can hypothetically take your money. But for most people, at least in the world today, in places that are fairly stable like the United States, that is a trade-off that they're willing to make based on how hard it has been historically to self-custody funds. So really excited to talk to you about what you guys are building today.
Thank you. Same, by the way. And by the way, you defined it exactly correct, which is even starting with the concept of wallet is incorrect as a definition, right? Like there shouldn't be, that's like the wrong name on its own. And then from there, there's like 17 other namings that are wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. My wallet does not let me access the place I've stored my US dollars. It literally physically holds my US dollars.
And by the way, we keep making this mistake, right? If you see in EVM land recently, account abstraction is, go explain to someone what that means, and be my guest, try to pitch that for a couple hours.
And someone tell me the difference between a wallet and an account, right? We can go down the rabbit hole big here, but I want to start off sort of at the high level. Give me kind of an overview of what your view into the current Web3 landscape is and sort of why you guys decided wallets and wallet security was the main thing to start tackling at the beginning.
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe I'll actually start with what we think will happen, right? The reason we started is kind of we try to think about what will happen in the next couple of years, and based on that, what tools are needed. At the very core, and I think probably anyone listening would agree, crypto is this magical thing, right? You can transfer money from person A to person B. You can transfer identity information from A to B, social information, and so on, in the most efficient way. And so in our mind, if you fast forward 5 years, we think that when you open your phone in a couple of years, every app on your phone is going to have a crypto component to it. Right? It's going to have a way for you to transfer money again from app A to app B and so on, or transfer information around gaming or social identity. At the very, very basic level, every app on your phone, every website you go to will have a kind of a crypto infrastructure component. And if you assume that's true, then you have to assume that every kind of app or every website on that you visit needs to have kind of that outlet to crypto, which is inherently a wallet, right? At the very basic level, we think that every app on your phone or every website will have a wallet component in it that allows you to tap into this crypto network. Very similar, by the way, to how, regardless of whether you use Outlook or Gmail or Superhuman, at the very, very basic level, you tap into this email network or email protocol that lets you kind of exchange information throughout. And so the very same way, you're going to tap into kind of this crypto infrastructure that let you transfer money, etc., with the wallet being the outlet to that. So that was the reason we kind of, that was our hypothesis. And based on that, we said, well, the thing missing is this interaction with the wallet, either generating one or once you have one, letting you interact and kind of use it as an identity provider. And that's kind of the core for why we started Dynamic. It was a very top down, what do we believe about the world? Therefore, what needs to exist?
Yeah. So what have you guys actually built today?
That's a great question. We not much yet. No, I'm kidding. We've spent about 2 years building Dynamic, and at the very basic level, what we're building is developer tools for anything that touches identity and authentication. So when you go into any service, you need a concept of a user, right? A
Yeah.
user can bring stuff on their own if they have their own third-party wallet, or they might not know what a wallet is. But at the very basic level, your application or website has users. What we're building is this user system of record. So the ability for you to kind of manage your users regardless of how they show up at your website. If they have a wallet, they can log in with a Phantom or a Magic Eden wallet and kind of interact with your app, and we support that. So we let you kind of do a really fancy kind of wallet adapter. We let you connect multiple wallets to the same account. We let you kind of gate access based on what you have in your wallet, collect additional information when a Phantom user logs in for the first time. But then we also let you spin up wallets for folks that don't have them. Right. So if a user logs in and says, well, I don't even know what this crypto thing is, that's totally fine. Right. You don't really necessarily have to know. And we'll talk about what are use cases in which you don't really have to know. But in that case, you log in with an email or you log in with your Google or Facebook, and we in the background generate a wallet for that user. So at the very basic level, what we built over the last 2 years is this user system of record that lets you kind of abstract away as a developer anything that has to do with user management and kind of wallet management on your site.
So one of the things we've seen a lot of companies launching to work on, and this is everything from Magic to web3 auth, is sort of creating a system where the user can log in with some sort of social or other level credential, and it creates a wallet for them. That is a system that, feels very smooth and organic. And if you didn't know is creating a wallet in the background, you wouldn't know it at all. It just feels like a click to log in or SMS code to log
Yeah.
in type system. But what you're describing seems like it's kind of a little bit more on the Web3 side, where you actually have a wallet adapter that has all these different components and doesn't necessarily abstract quite as much away from the user. Is that a good way of thinking about the way you guys have designed this?
So we think about kind of how we approach this in kind of there's a kind of a chicken and egg problem with wallets, which is you go into a website, right? And you generate a wallet for someone, right? They log in with an email and social address, and they can access, and they don't necessarily need to know there's a wallet, but then they want to take that information and use it on website B, on website C, right? And so at that point, their wallet that was created turns into a wallet they want to log in with. Right. So we think about the problem more, as a user management problem versus an embedded wallet problem. Right. We're trying to solve kind of the life cycle problem of a user starts without knowing and then ends up knowing what a wallet is and starts kind of interacting with the ecosystem. So it's a little bit of a different layer than some of the great players that you mentioned. By the way, to your point, they're like really cool players in the market. Yeah. We think about it as kind of the full holistic user management cycle, from not knowing anything to actually interacting with global wallets across sites. So that's how we think about it. We also think, by the way, that early adopters today are mostly crypto users. So you kind of really also want to support them. So you still want to support kind of Web3 login just as much as you support Web2 login.
Yeah, I kind of want to dig in a little bit more about what that means in terms of the product choices that you've made and sort of the way you build this. Because I think there's, you guys have an embedded wallet product, then you have like multi-wallets, you have lots of different types of ways that people can use this. I think for the complete crypto novice coming in and is like, I have a Gmail account, like, can I sign up for a wallet? I think people understand that flow pretty well, right? Most people have interacted with some sort of like embedded custodial or semi-custodial wallet design before. But for someone, like me or most people listening to the podcast, if they come to a DApp that has decided to integrate your systems and they're bringing Phantom to it, what kind of capabilities does this unlock for the DApp and the developer sort of on that side? And then on the client side, like what do I see when, someone's using your framework system as opposed to sort of the default like wallet adapter that's just, the the Web3.js package everyone uses today.
Yeah, absolutely. So actually, first, we'll talk about that experience in about 10 seconds or so, 17 seconds or so, give or take. But to your point, we're an authentication company. So we kind of provide a flexibility of tools, very similar to how, when you log into the Wall Street Journal, you might have kind of an email-based login, but if you log into Uber, you might have phone-based login, right? And they both might be powered by the same authentication company, right? The experience might be a little bit different based on what you're trying to do. And we can see this, by the way, just maybe examples and kind of how customers implement Dynamic. If you go to Pudgy Penguins today and you go to their marketplace, that's powered by Dynamic. Some of their customers are Web3 customers. They log in that case, in Ethereum land with MetaMask, and some log in with email or social. But if you go to Starkware that just did their token drop and is powered by Dynamic, they make you connect L1 wallet, which is, again, a MetaMask or a Coinbase, and then connect a Starkware wallet, which is a Bravo store, anything like that. And kind of, we take them through that bridging flow, right? So they're very different experiences, both built via Dynamic. Now, to your point, what does the experience look like, right? So if you're a Web2 user that you show up at the website, very similar to what you described. You see email or social login or phone, etc., and you get the security. At the end of the day, you're not just logging to an account; you're logging to an account that might have money in it, right? So you get two-factor authentication, all those nice security features. If you're a Web3 user, think about the following scenario, which is you want to log into a marketplace, let's say a Magic Eden, right? Over time, right, you might have 5 wallets. I'm assuming you do, right? I'm assuming you have your Phantom wallet and your Soulflare wallet, etc. And you might, God forbid, even have a Coinbase or a MetaMask wallet in EVM, right? But at the very basic level, and as a good example, again, a Magic Eden or an OpenSea are multi-chain marketplaces, right?
Yeah.
You might want to log in with your Phantom wallet, but then connect your Bitcoin wallet, your Xverse, and then connect your MetaMask wallet. But you're the same user. You're one user. You're not 3 users, right? Today, a lot of these sites, whether it's in DeFi or NFT, etc., treat a wallet as a user. Meaning, today you connect your Phantom, and then you log out. You connect your your Magic Eden wallet, log out. The experience here would be you log in with one, and then you link a second. You click a link button, you link a second to the same account, you link a third to the same account, and then every wallet that you connect with, you see the same profile. You can see your portfolio across everything. You can see the same profile. So think about it a little bit like moving to advanced mode of moving from a wallet as a user to a user can have multiple wallets.
Yeah. So I think the first question I kind of have with that framework is the reason I have multiple wallets on, Solana is partially for privacy, right? There's one that's linked to Federa.sol, and there's others that, might not be. And it's not that I have anything no one wants to find. It's just like I don't want to necessarily advertise like, hey, this is also a wallet owned by, Austin. So how do you guys think about that from like a data and privacy side? Because I'm sure from a dApp perspective, there is a time bomb in the entire way that we've built user identities and authentications in Web3, where we have basically created the world's largest advertising data set if someone wants to actually start using it. And that bomb will go off at some point. But these are sort of things that like get us closer to that future. So how are you guys handling both on the dApp level and then in your sort of corporate level, privacy associated with wallets?
Yeah. So first, by the way, you described this correctly, which is you might have different wallets and some of them might be more private. It's not that you're hiding anything, but we have, as people, multiple identities, right? The way I interact with my friends might be different than the way I interact with my at work, right? And therefore, the types of interactions might be different, and I want to kind of silo those identities. I think about them in, you might one day have a Steam wallet and you might have a Robinhood wallet. And they're completely separate just because one is my financial identity and one is my gaming identity.
Oh yeah, the number of complete degen Twitter accounts that have DM'd me or come up to me at like fancy functions and be like, I'm so and so on Twitter, but my day job is, I run blockchain at JP Morgan. And you're like,
that's right.
I never would have thought you own 45 of these like very degen JPEGs.
That's exactly right. Right to your point, we all have we live different lives, right?
Yeah.
And so and to your point, we want to separate them. The way we think about this is at the very basic level, we're a dev tools company, meaning we have no aspirations to help with anything besides user management. So that means a couple things. First, that means that any data that you connect on website A is siloed from the data connected to website B, right? So if you go today, if you use token proof as an example, right, that's an app that leverages Dynamic. If you connect multiple wallets on token proof, and then you go to IYK, which is building these like magical physical digital experiences, also uses Dynamic. Those connections that you made are separate, right? And then if you go to Doodles, which has flow wallets, EVM wallets, and again, kind of uses Dynamic to link them together, those are separate. So at the very basic level, we say, okay, this information is siloed, meaning the information you collected on website A is completely separate from that on website B and website C. Over time, we'll do two things. First, internally, we have processes around how we keep them siloed, right? We're SOC 2, Tech 2 compliant. We have very clear terms of service for how we use and how we don't use your data. By definition, we don't collect things like IP. And so we have kind of audits around this. We are a dev tools company. At the very basic level, my goal is a single goal, which is to just give software tools.
Yeah.
Now, over time, though, you might want to broadcast to the world that these two wallets are connected, right? And at that point, I might give you, the end user, tools to publish those as DIDs and verifiable credentials as decentralized identifiers for registries to put online, where you can kind of declare to the world these wallets are linked, right? Very similar to, again, in EVM land, there's Delegate Cash, where you can declare this wallet is the hot wallet that controls these other four cold wallets, my Ledger wallet, etc. So we will give you the end user tools. We might give you the developer tools, but at the kind of root, this information is siloed. It's for an end user's benefit, but to your point, with the minimum likelihood, let's not recreate the problem that we're trying to solve in Web2, essentially.
I'm kind of curious about like the VPN companies. I think are probably the only companies, and then maybe, you know, Brave. There's a few of them out there that have been able to build a business that has been resistant to the advertising and data mining forces. So I'm kind of curious how you, as a founder who clearly seem like you don't want that to happen with the data you guys are collecting, have thought about like what choices and challenges it means to have to build a company in a way that it isn't susceptible to those sort of pressures in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. So first, look, by the way, even to your point, even VPN companies, I think there's a very long time ago, a VPN company was sold to Facebook that did exactly that, right? That used that to understand trends, right? So at the very basic level, we look at a couple kind of key. So I'll say two things, which is first, at the end of the day, we're a user management company, meaning we provide your user database, and on top of that, developers can decide to say, okay, what do we want to do with these users, right? So other companies can come along and say, look, give me your kind of, wallet data, and I will kind of, use that to better understand your users. So I think it'll be wrong of me to say, hey, that can't happen. We're seeing that happen in the natural market of companies becoming more sophisticated, wanting to understand more about their users, and kind of, as a result, give them better services or things of that sort. And part of it relies on the user system of record.
Yeah.
For us as Dynamic, we really think about ourselves very similar to like an Auth0 or a Segment or a Twilio, right? Yeah. Which is, how do we really stick with providing developer tools and build that as a giant business, right? I look at, I'll say this a different way, which is, I fundamentally believe that in 5 years, everyone has kind of a wallet component in every one of their apps. And that is a gigantic market on its own, right? There's so much level of complexity beyond in that single sentence of what needs to be built, that's a lot of work for us to do. We're going to focus on that for
Yeah.
We can have this conversation again in a couple of years, but
That's fair. I do feel like I have to point out that Segment was bought by Twilio, and Twilio now actually sells customer data via customer data portal. But I get what you're saying.
I think, by the way, on that point, Segment, I don't know if you saw it, now spinning out of Twilio.
Oh, I didn't see that. Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So it's exactly, but that I think you're right? Like, which is, I think it's we would all be, a little bit naive to assume that companies as they grow don't necessarily see all these forces. I can tell you my intent in how we're thinking about building the business and where I hope to build a business. But again, talk to me in 5 years and now you have a recording. So, let's have this conversation again.
Yeah. But yeah, to kind of go back to some of the other stuff you were talking about before, I think that layer of being able to link up wallet addresses to social addresses to GitHub addresses. I mean, we've seen GitHub contributors be like a major component now in some airdrops that are coming through, and people are having to build a lot of custom systems to do that sort of thing. So, where do you sort of see the scope of space you're trying to sort of step into here? Is this sort of the type of thing where a company that actually is like, hey, we're going to do a token airdrop and we need a way for people to link up accounts? Is that sort of part of the vision there too?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So literally you can see this from the last week. So Starkware's airdrop is powered by Dynamic wallets, right? So if you go to provisions.starkware.io and you click to connect your L1 wallet or you click to connect your L2 wallet, that is a Dynamic product under the hood. And that is a very good example of, and I don't want to speak on behalf of Starkware, but I'm assuming that they have so many challenges with kind of how to manage a drop, right? There's so much complexity here that thinking about user management is one thing that shouldn't be on their mind, right? If you, the way we originally pitched Dynamic was, hey, no one wakes up in the morning and says, let me rebuild authentication with my 2 best engineers, right? Like it's not like a pitch you make to your best engineers of saying, hey, you know what, spend the next couple of weeks kind of, rebuilding, thinking about embedded wallets, thinking about, third-party wallets. And that's where we come in. So a good example is Kinto.xyz, which is an L2, also uses Dynamic for how people can claim tokens or things of that sort. So yes, it's definitely a use case for us. And that's where the flexibility comes in, which is you can use Dynamic, as a crypto company like Provisions at Starkware, or you can use Dynamic for a crypto-enabled experience like a token proof or an IYK, which completely abstracts away crypto. So we can be flexible on both of those sides.
Nice. So how are you thinking about sort of the long-term user grow-up journey in this place? Because I think there's this sort of idea like, oh, people come in with maybe an embedded wallet first, they transition to some form of hot wallet, and then most, unfortunately, don't transition to a hardware wallet when they probably should. So how do you sort of, are you guys thinking that is something that, you're getting into the space of trying to actually do direct integrations with hardware wallets as well and sort of carry users on that journey, or is that sort of not the scope?
No, it's exactly, I think you're exactly right. That is the scope, right? The holy grail is that once you have a wallet, you can start interacting with other things. And then over time, what you have in the wallet dictates the level of security and the level of things that you should consider with a wallet, right? It can be anywhere from if you're buying $1 kind of, or doing microtransactions or playing a game, you might not care about any of this stuff, right? But if all of a sudden you have $1 million in your wallet because you kind of participate in some sort of social-fi thing, or you're running a business on top of this stuff, or you're paying contractors, right? All great use cases of global contractors, great use cases of crypto. You might want to start thinking about 2FA or even alerts and notifications and how to think about policies or kind of multi-sig signing, right? And so our goal is to actually help you, the developer, offer all that entire suite of tools, right? And we really fundamentally think about it in kind of 3 steps of the problem, right? The first one is, how do you onboard a user that doesn't have any understanding of crypto and might never need to have an understanding of crypto, right? If I'm transferring
you don't really
money,
need to know anything about crypto to use Farcaster.
Exactly. No, that is a phenomenal example. That's exactly right. That is a great example of like you get the benefit, the
Right.
social network is being built, but over time you can kind of leverage the fact that you have shared rails of kind of a forecast or social graph that people can build on top of, right? Or a different use case is if I'm transferring money to you and you're in Argentina and I'm in France. We just need the most efficient way to transfer money from one to the other, right? The fact that it works through crypto is irrelevant, just like the fact that you shouldn't know what SMTP is, or like you shouldn't know what OAuth is when you click login with Google. It should just work for you. Now, to your point, we kind of think about these three problems. We think about, okay, how do I abstract that away and let you log in and complete the action you want to complete, whether it's a game action or whether you want to buy kind of a tokenized asset that you couldn't access before, right? It might be that you want to buy land. The easiest way is actually to tokenize that on chain, right? And you shouldn't really care about that. You just want to buy land or energy or anything of that sort. Second step is, okay, now that you have some sort of wallet, does that wallet, whether you know about it or not, need to interact with the outside world? Is it kind of siloed or is it global, right? Do you want to let it connect to, a Magic Eden and trade assets there? Or do you want to let it connect to some sort of RWA aggregator, right? And kind of, that's step number 2. And step number 3 is, okay, what are the policies? And is there a policy engine that defines when you start thinking about additional security methods, or when you start thinking about kind of 2FA or alerting or that type of stuff? So we kind of think about these 3 steps of the process, which is onboarding, kind of expansion of interaction beyond the siloed app, and kind of the security policies involved, right? We also think about, to your point, hardware wallets is one option, right? But MPC and kind of not having a single key or point of failure is another option, or thinking about multi-sig is a third option, right? So it's not a kind of a silver bullet, but rather flexibility based on the use case that you have.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I mean, the way you're kind of thinking about why these components fit together. I have to imagine you guys are also thinking about KYC as more and more types of different blockchain usage, whether that's, private forks of networks or subnets or, using token extensions on Solana, plus all the exchange integrations that are capable there. Are you guys thinking about launching KYC services or sort of partnering with someone else to do sort of a more portable KYC architecture?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a topic very near and dear to our heart. I think we mentioned KYC in our original kind of deck, probably a month into starting the company. To your point, there's a couple really fascinating topics there, right? Of tokenized KYC, to your point, which is, can I KYC once on website A and carry it with me on website B, right? And so we're thinking about those. We're probably transparently 6 to 9 months away from actually kind of, stepping on the gas there. But absolutely, right? Like in a good example, let's actually take that as into a real example, which is I am a trader in Utah, and I'm a accredited investor, right? It's not just a KYC. Accreditation is also a type of kind of, verification that you might want to do. I'm an accredited investor in Utah, and I want to get access to assets that I couldn't access before. I want to easily, with one click, buy kind of land in Arizona. And I want to buy energy assets somewhere else. Or I'm in Argentina and I want access to treasuries, right? And I am a accredited investor. I've passed all the information. I should be able to KYC once, complete an accreditation once as well, have that assigned to my profile, and then go to the energy website, like a Jasmine Energy, and buy energy tokens there, and then go to a Maple Finance and buy kind of, treasuries there, and go to kind of a Fabrica land and buy land, right? And with all of those, I should be able to reuse the same credentials. Right. And so absolutely, short answer is absolutely. It's a key part of what we're thinking about. It is our real hope for the future, because I hate going through KYC every time. I get the value is critical, but the process is not where it should be. And so that is a big topic on our mind.
Yeah, I think it's also one of those things too where we see just in like the Solana Foundation does KYC and every grant recipient, but we also do KYC on like the delegation program recipients and those sorts of things. And not on grants, but on the delegation, the amount of KYC fraud we see is very, very high. Specifically with people using things like AI tools nowadays, or just manipulating images, fake documents, etc. And one of the interesting pieces about that is it's really hard to make a better, more robust KYC system because it would require everyone passing KYC spends 20 minutes on it. And if you have to pass KYC several times a month, that becomes a really high overhead. Whereas, if I have to pass KYC once a year and it takes a half hour, whatever, because then it's portable out to everything else.
I agree with that, right? To your point, there's a difference between doing the KYC process for the sake of doing a KYC process versus really proving that you are who you say you are, right?
Yeah.
If the hurdle is slightly higher at the beginning, then you can reuse that. Everyone benefits, right? Because the folks can prove you are who you say you are, but then you as an end user don't have to reprove that every 10 minutes.
Right.
And that is, I really hope that's the future, right? You see this across industries, right? If you ever bought a house, I'm assuming you've seen all of this type of like redundant work that you have to do. It's not about reducing, I think it's actually increasing the bar of KYC while reducing the friction around conducting KYC. That's what I hope, where I think crypto can play a huge role in that.
Yeah, I think there's a really interesting future for that too. So, looking at sort of passkeys, have you guys there's a lot of buzz right now about passkeys. They're, from my perspective as a one password user, very little difference. It's just still stored in one password. But, there's other types of situations like wallet logins and other things like there where passkeys are sort of becoming the preferred solution from, it seems like, security providers as well as users. What do you think
Yeah,
the role of passkeys might be in the future of, Web3 wallets?
I am a huge advocate of passkeys. I hope I said enough times that I'm a huge advocate of passkeys. Look, at the very basic level, to your point, use one password. So I think you'll get this really, really quickly, which is, think about it's like one password, but for everyone else.
Yeah.
What are, at the very basic level, what are passkeys? They're one-time invisible super long invisible passwords that you generate for every website.
Yeah.
And they're locked to your user account. And oh, by the way, they're automatically backed up to your iCloud or Google Password Manager or your 1Password, right? So at the very basic level, I'll say this a different way, which is it is very rare in offland that innovation comes along and really changes things. And passkeys are the first time in like 20 years where innovation has come along with the support of these like giant players, Apple and Google, etc., and is actually changing things. At the root of all evil with anything authentication is the concept of a password. You're telling someone to give you information that's on the one hand hard for you to kind of break, but on the other is easy enough for the user to remember. Yeah. And so this concept of not having to like think about passkeys or passwords is this magical concept to me. I am really hoping that we adopt this as soon as humanly possible. You can, if you go into the Firefox forum, you will see me posting there frequently and asking when they finish implementing it, which they did. But at the very basic level, it's this like really important concept. Now, it is important in offland, right? When you log into a website and it guards your information. It is doubly important when it guards your money, right? And so it is a concept that's critical globally and even more critical in Web3 land, where you want to create a secret that only an end user knows and you can't replicate it in any way. So that was we can dive into the details here, but that was a very long spiel as to how much I think passkeys play a huge role of our future here, kind of, hopefully within the future of all Web3.
So how have you guys thought about network support and building that out? Because, different networks have pretty different requirements in terms of wallets, from everything on the signing curve to,
Yep.
on Solana, a wallet is asked to do a good deal less than a wallet on Ethereum is asked to do. On Ethereum, they're responsible for transaction forming. On Solana, they're just responsible for transaction simulation.
That's right. Yeah, I think so. It comes back to a point that what we talked about in the past, which is flexibility, right? Dynamic can be used for websites that never talk about crypto and can be used for crypto heavy websites. And so in the same sense, my value proposition to developers at the very basic level is please never have to worry about this stuff ever again.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, if you have to, like, my goal is to remove that pain that is kind of wallet login from your list of pain points that I'm sure you as a developer have, like a list of like 57 of them, right? What that inherently means is that over time we support more and more chains. Just today, we actually announced Bitcoin Kit, which is essentially kind of all of the wallets on Bitcoin that you can easily implement, very similar to how you would the Solana wallet standard or wallet adapter, right? So for the first time, there's now support on the Bitcoin side for this. And that's important because you want to kind of help accelerate across chains. So short answer is we really care about this stuff. Today, we support all EVM chains, Starkware, obviously Solana, which we started with, by the way, and it was the first thing to support. Bitcoin, Flow, Cosmos, and Algorand. And we'll add more in the future. There's some fascinating kind of innovations in the land of Flow, the land of kind of Sui and Aptos. And so there's some really interesting stuff there. But short answer is we really think about it holistically is how do I abstract this away from anyone who works in Web3?
Yeah. And so, when you're designing, companies and systems like this, that's a lot of maintenance, it's a lot of engineers. How does monetization work for you guys?
Yeah, so you're right. There's, by the way, a third party there's a lot of testing, right? We think about ourselves before monetization, just the way we think about ourselves internally is a little bit like reverse Plaid, which is Plaid had to integrate with a bunch of banks, right? And they're huge and they're super complex, but there's very old tech there. And it's not like the banks kind of roll out new tech every day. Right. And so there's one set of problems there, which is dealing with really sophisticated old tech that you have to integrate with. In Web3, there's the reverse problem, which is every wallet is a startup, right? And every wallet wakes up in the morning and tries to kind of innovate and change how they do stuff and break each other's stuff a little bit, right? And so we have to deal with this completely different set of problems, which is how do you kind of handle dozens or hundreds of wallets that break each other's things all the time, right? And so we have a lot of work that we do around testing to just make sure that doesn't happen, right? There's also competition, right? Wallets have an incentive to a little bit poke each other in the eye sometimes and make sure that they kind of take over. And I think, by the way, Solana has been, I think, on the easiest side to handle this with phenomenal work around the wallet standard, right? That was done in EVM land. There are recent activities like EIP 6963, which kind of let injected wallets play nicely together. But before that, everyone just pretended that they're MetaMask. Now, that being put aside on kind of testing, how we make money. At the very basic level, we are, again, coming back to this, we are a standard SaaS DevTools company. We make money based on monthly active users. Our business model, and we say this in calls with potential customers, is very simple. We provide a service, we get money, and everyone's kind of happy. And that at the very basic level is what we do, which inherently means we give you a service, you pay per monthly active logged in users, per kind of wallets that we generate. And at that point, you are hopefully happy and we are happy. We have not innovated on our business model that much versus just looking at how Web2 authentication companies do this, like Auth0 or Stitch, and kind of, took some friendly inspiration from those.
Awesome. Well, if folks want to learn more about what you guys have built, where can they both learn more about the project and get in touch with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So folks can go to dynamic.xyz. If you're on Farcaster, you can follow me at Itai, just ITAI on Farcaster. I'm the
Nice.
only Itai there, which I feel very proud of. So no other Itai can go into the protocol anymore. But at the very basic level, go to dynamic.xyz, follow us on Twitter, dynamic_XYZ, and ask us anything. At the very basic level, we kind of like to geek out about this stuff, right? Like this is all like extremely fun for us. So if anyone's curious to learn more, our blog post kind of goes into our blogs go into a lot of detail. And the last thing I would say is poke around some customers that we mentioned on the site. I think the key thing for us is we get to have this really cool front row seat for a lot of innovation in the industry. We're the boring side of crypto. There's so many cool companies that are being built on top of these tools right now that are kind of building these full crypto-enabled stacks that let you build anywhere from kind of a Doodles-like experience to an IYK experience to a more lighter financial tank experience. And so that's poke around some of our customers. I think that's where the real interesting part is, which is just seeing how people are innovating in crypto today.
Awesome. Well, Itai, thank you for joining us today on Validated.
Thank you so much for having me.